Fanatics. Welcome back to 32 in 32. That's kind of like a nice ring to it. I think that's what I'm going to call it. Who knows? I got a few days, I think, before I have to start putting them out. But it is 32 teams in 32 days. I basically do a power ranking, and it's a countdown to the start of the season. Basically, the reason I've done this is to talk about every team because I really like football and I really like talking football, and I probably am not going to have enough content for my general idea was to get at least half of the fans in my network to come talk about their team with me. So I'm just going to do it by myself. I'm at 30 now. So this team I might be the most wrong about, but I can't find a reason to change it. So this team is the Las Vegas Raiders, and they have stupid talent on their roster. So much talent. I think I even heard that Hunter Renfrow might not even make the team. Like, they have a ridiculous amount of talent. They have Devonta Adams, Josh Jacobs. They brought in Jacoby Myers, who's making more money than DJ Chark, by the way, which is stupid. But he's still a good player. They got Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. Like, they got stud dudes. They have really, really, really good players. So they went 6-11 last year. So Carr didn't play the last two games. So let's just call it 6-9. They fixed their secondary a little bit. The offensive line played pretty well last year. So it looks really good. Not really good, but it looks pretty good on paper as far as the talent. They invested in their secondary a lot this past year, and I think that's a big problem with them because they're Crosby and Chandler Jones are pretty good players. Sorry. Oh wow. Sorry. Crosby and Chandler Jones are pretty good players. They dealt with some injuries last year, especially Darren Waller, but he's gone anyway, so who cares? They brought in Austin Hooper, but who cares? So Josh McDaniels, it's so hard to see how good he is because he was there with the Broncos in the Tebow era. Dude has a ton of rings. He has a ton of Super Bowl rings as an offensive coordinator. Compare him to the two coaches that we talked about before, and the Cardinals and the Colts. This dude looks like freaking amazing. That being said, what did they pick 7th this past year, 6th, something like that? But is Derek Carr good? Was Derek Carr the problem? I just don't know. I saw Josh Jacobs put up a ton of numbers. Saw Devonta Adams put up a ton of numbers. I just don't know, and there's nothing that makes me confident in saying that they're good. So all I've heard so far. So let's say they're 6-11, right? Let's just say that Garoppolo and Carr are the same people. Me personally, I'll take the guy that's been to the playoffs a ton of times and been to a Super Bowl, and it was a couple plays away from winning a Super Bowl, versus the guy that's had 2 winning seasons in 8 years and is 60. What's his record? 59-73 or something like that. 61-73, something like that. He's like a Ryan Fitzpatrick record. So yeah, I'll take the guy that's been to a Super Bowl before. Regardless, let's just say that they're the same, so that's equal. We know that from last year, guys changing teams that's not good. But I'm a big if logic applies for one, logic applies to the other. We're gonna have Aaron Rodgers go with his old offensive coordinator and the Jets, so it's gonna be easy transition. So We're going to have Garoppolo go with his old offensive coordinator with the Raiders. Easy transition. So let's just say that's true too. So we got Jimmy Garoppolo. We have Devontae Adams, All Pro, or Pro Bowler might be All Pro. Josh Jacobs was All Pro. You bring in Jacoby Myers. Your offensive line played pretty well last year. You got to assume that's going to continue because I think they're all back. You lose Waller, but I think he only played like 8 games last year. That's lots of like. And then on the defense, then you fix your secondary. You have Chandler Jones. You have um, uh, Crosby bringing Marcus Peters, who didn't have a great season last year, but still a vet. Like these guys, like have pride. They want to win. Like they're not just there to like hang out. Um, it's just man, that division is there's. I guess it's a good time to like run down the schedule. So like let's do that because man, that's a big thing too. Is like a lot of these teams, if they were in the so say the Raiders were in the uh, AFC North, because I don't think they're going to be that good this year. So you got the Bears, the Vikings. I'm not trying to crap on these teams, but like Bears, Vikings, Packers, and Lions. I think they're all going to be kind of mediocre, so it'd be easier to win. Same with like the NFC South, uh, NFC South, Panthers, Falcons, Saints, and Bucks. I think if they were in those divisions, yeah, it's a different story. Um, but this is their schedule, and man, it's it's hard. So you start off 2 games away against Denver and Buffalo, and then you have to. So you're away, and then you got to go cross country to Buffalo to fly back. Which both those teams are going to beat you up, right? They have strong defenses, and it's gonna be tough to even like compete with them. And then you get Pittsburgh, who is they're going to be like a top 5 defense this year, in my opinion. And then you go on the road again. You got 3 road games in 4 days. So you got to go on the road to the Chargers. So we're looking at Denver, who everybody thinks is going to be better this year because Peyton, 7-win team, and Buffalo, who was second in the AFC, and then Pittsburgh was 9-8, theoretically getting better with TJ Watt back. Chargers made the playoffs last year, and then you get Green Bay at home. That could be a win for them. I I like Green Bay this year as a roster. I don't love them, but I like them. If if Jordan Love can't, I kind of think that Green Bay is this year's Seahawks of last year. I think they are going to be frustrated that everybody thinks that it was Aaron Rodgers who was carrying that team. You got 2 good receivers that are going to their second year. That's when the receivers like really break out. You still got Aaron Jones. I think Mike LaFleur is a good coach. I mean, I don't think he's a great coach, but I think he's a pretty good coach. And I think the division is pretty meh. But I think they're going to be motivated. So I have it as a loss. It could be a win. Home to New England is also interesting because it's against your old coach. You know how he thinks. I just don't think they can beat New England. Also, at this point in time, I'm kind of thinking that I think injuries might start happening. A lot of these guys are older. Um, I mean, they're getting late in their career. Jimmy G's always hurt. He barely passed the physical early. Josh Jacobs has a ton of pounding. Who knows if he's going to play this year? He's like really upset that he's not getting a contract. I don't know. A lot of these could go either way. I chose this for a reason, and I know what it was. Then I was very confident about it then, so I'm going to stick with my guns. So they're home New England. That's a loss. So they just start off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row losses. So I think just out of sheer pride, they beat the Bears, which I think is going to be like an ugly, gross little game. But I think they beat the Bears in Chicago, and then they're at Detroit. I just road. I hate when you're playing on the road and then on a road again. And God, poor Raiders, man, they got to do it. Tough schedule. Then you're home to the Giants. I have that as a win because you have the Giants coming cross country to you, so I have that as a win. But I don't like that either. Like I don't like it. I don't like any of these games for them. It's a tough schedule. They were in the playoffs last year. Then you got home against the Jets. I think Jets get so much talent. I, just, I don't see wins. When you're at Miami, you got to go cross country at Miami. I think they're like a top 5 talented roster this year. And then that's like when Ramsey's around the time Ramsey's coming back. So you're at Miami, you're home to KC, you ain't winning that game. Then you're home to Minnesota, home to the Chargers, home to KC, and then you're at Indy. And I think that I don't know, man. You might just be trying to tank at that point. You might want Caleb Williams at that point. Maybe you lose that. It's going to be like who wants to be the worst. It's going to be like how it was a couple years ago, where it was the Trevor Lawrence thing where oh the Jags lost to the Jets won. The Jets won late, and the Jags had the number 1 pick. And you're always like, wait. So then you got Denver, which I think Denver is going to be like really hoping for a playoff spot. So I think Denver wins. So you're playing in a tough division. You're on the road early. Guys are going to get beat up. You have a lot of older players. It's kind of like the Colts are kind of like a poor man's Raiders, where there's good players. Like I like their players, and but the only difference is you can see the Raiders are actually trying to win. They're actually trying to win, like build a competitive roster. So they're trying to bring in Jacoby Myers and Marcus Peters and guys like that. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. And McDaniels, man, maybe it was Derek Carr. Maybe it was. I don't know. Like, Derek Carr leaves, and Jared Stidham puts 34 up against the Niners, and that was the most yards they got all year. He played two games, and then I think it was 2 games, maybe it was 3. But the next week they play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs is a must win for the Chiefs because the Chiefs lost. Bills get number 1 seed, so Chiefs came ready to play, and Raiders, what were they playing for? So maybe it was Carr. Maybe Carr wasn't doing what McDaniels wanted him to do. I just don't see wins. I don't see wins. The only one of the games you won is because New England threw the ball backwards and you intercepted it and took it for a touchdown. If you don't do that, are you 5-12? And then theoretically, what everybody's saying is that Carr was like he was held back and with the Raiders, and then you bring in Jimmy G, who apparently isn't good, and I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see wins. I think Devontae Adams isn't happy. I think Josh Jacobs isn't happy. It's another poorly run show as far as ownership. I feel bad for all those guys. But maybe there's talent. There is talent on there. It's possible. And McDaniels, Jared Stidham put up 500 yards or 365 yards passing against the Niners, and the Niners needed to win those games too. They eventually did win that game. Went to overtime. They won, but Niners needed to win games. Like they were still in the seeding hunt at that point. But there's not much more I can say. Their offensive line is pretty below average, but they played fairly well this past year, and I think a lot of that had to do with Josh Jacobs. And their secondary was pretty terrible, but they rebuilt it. So, and Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know. There's a reason that they wanted Trey Lance. Yeah, I don't know what else to give you. I don't. It's just kind of like that. It's kind of like, who knows? We were all excited about them last year. They got Chandler Jones. They got Devonta Adams. They were supposed to be that team, and now it feels like this year is like kind of like the Broncos. Broncos got Sean Payton and like in this system and all. Now they're the hot team in that division. So I think it's going to be a lot of the same. I think Chiefs are going to own the division. Chargers are going to they're going to vomit on themselves. I think Denver is going to be like kind of in that middle area. I think I have them win like 9 or 10 games, and then I think that the Raiders they're just going to Raider. Like they're just going to Raider. I mean, it's kind of like what the Browns did forever. It's kind of like what the Lions did forever. It's kind of what the Jags did. It's kind of what the Panthers did forever. They're just gonna be them, and until they're not them, they're just gonna be them. So that's, I mean, there's not a ton of, there's not a detail, some analysis, which I hate. I wish that I could give you like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? I promise you, I dug into the numbers. I mean, they had they Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs were two of the best of their position last year, and they were terrible. You just to be 6-11, you need them to repeat what they did last year without like Darren Waller. So I got them as 30. I could be dead wrong. It might be the one I could be most wrong about it just by sheer talent. But I'm just one of those guys. I gotta see it on the field. Like until then, the Raiders are gonna Raiders. So that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you listening. And like, follow, subscribe, comment, whatever. You know all the things to do. And talk to you next time.